Hello and welcome to Lake Orion Sports Update. I'm your host, Joey Tysick, and today we recap the latest with varsity football, boys soccer, volleyball, and cross country as the fall sports season is underway. The varsity boys soccer team has been busy lately as they try to fight for the top spot in the OAA White Division. Starting on September 17th, Lake Orion would battle a White Division opponent in Farmington. It would be a defensive battle all night long as neither team could put the ball in the net for most of the game. However, with 10:49 to go in the game, the Dragons found a way. They were able to get a small breakaway, forcing Farmington's goalie to challenge the Dragons, but Stefan Jakubowski was able to just sneak the ball past to give Lake Orion the 1-0 lead. The remainder of the game, the Dragons continued to play ball control and keep Farmington out of the net. Farmington got a few opportunities, but the Dragons made enough plays to get the victory. In the Dragons' next 3 games, they would face the top 3 teams in the OAA White. First up was Rochester. It was a tough game for the Dragons as they played strong, but Rochester just had their offense playing well. The Dragons were unable to get much going as they fell 1-5. Next up was Bloomfield Hills, who came to Lake Orion with their eyes also looking towards the OAA White title. Weather was a bit of a factor as the start of the game was delayed a bit by lightning, but once the storm passed, it turned into a beautiful night for soccer. The teams went back and forth throughout the game and Bloomfield Hills got on the board first. In the second half, the Dragons stepped up and put in a goal to tie the game at 1. Both teams turned up the defensive effort as the time was winding down and neither team was able to put in a goal. The game ended in a 1-1 tie, giving Lake Orion a shot at the OAA White title going into their next game against Seaholm. And finally, on October 3rd, the Dragons hosted Seaholm for their final division game. Lake Orion was looking to upset Seaholm for the OAA White title. Again, both teams battled hard in this game. Seaholm was able to score first and they kept the pressure on. The Dragons came out in the second half and put together some good possessions, but were unable to get any goals. Seaholm was able to score again in the second half, and Lake Orion just couldn't get the offense they needed to make the comeback. The Dragons finished third in the White as they look to districts where they will face Utica Eisenhower at Stony Creek High School. Good luck, Dragons. The varsity volleyball team entered league play with a target on their back being the state champion just a year ago. The Lady Dragons had not looked as dominant going into league play as they were last year, but by no means were they a team to be taken lightly. First up was Troy on September 19th at home. The Lady Dragons were able to show that they were contenders once again as they managed to score points from many different players. Troy was able to put together quite a few good rallies and made Lake Orion fight for every point, but the Dragons were able to take down the Colts in straight sets. The following week, they would take on rival Oxford on September 24th at Oxford. Yet again, the Dragons would prove that they are one of the best teams in the red as they would win again in straight sets. However, Oxford kept things close in every game, but Lake Orion was able to overcome the pressure from Oxford and hold them off. Once again, the Dragons would find a variety of ways to score, showing just how deep this Lake Orion team can be. 2 days later, the Dragons would play Groves, and in a similar fashion to Oxford, Groves was not going to just roll over to the Dragons. In Game 1, the Dragons came out hot and were able to win easily with a score of 25-17. But Game 2 was a different story as the teams went back and forth. The Dragons were able to get a little bit of a lead, and that would be the difference in the Game 2 as they won 25-23. Same thing in Game 3 as the Dragons would win 25-23, showing that this Groves team is strong enough even though they sit at the bottom of the red division, just reminding everyone how tough the division can be. Finally, on October 3rd, the Dragons would face West Bloomfield. In Game 1, the Lady Dragons would win with a little bit of a late surge by the Lakers, resulting in the 25-18 score. In Game 2, the Lakers wanted to make a statement as they pushed the Dragons into extra points. West Bloomfield wanted to tie up the set count at Lake Orion, wanted to push their lead to 2-0 to try and close out the match. The Dragons were able to pull out the win in Game 2 as the game finished 29-27. In Game 3, it seemed like the Lakers just lost all momentum after losing Game 2. The Dragons won easily 25-14 to take the match in straight sets. Next up for the Dragons is a big match as they take on rival Clarkson, as both teams are undefeated in the OAA Red and are looking to finish out the season strong before they meet up in district playoffs. The Lake Orion boys and girls cross country teams look to continue improving their times as they raced in the Holly and Linden Invites, as well as a home race for the OAA Jamboree number 2. Here's Ian Locke with more.
Okay, let's get you all caught up on the cross-country season so far. We have a lot to cover, so stay with me if you can. The LOHSN middle school cross-country teams traveled to the Dwayne Ruffin Festival of Races in Holly on Saturday, September 14th. Teams from across the state attended, even a group from the UP. The middle school races took place around 7 a.m. The Lake Orion middle school teams performed well, with the Walden boys taking 9th, with Oakview 10th overall in the 29-team field. Jack Verlinden's 22nd for Walden and Ben Redmond's 26th for Oakview earned them medalist honors on the day. The ladies from Walden put on a spectacular team effort, taking third-place trophy with 149 points. Oxford was first with a staggering 52 points. Rochester Hart was second at 139 points. 34 middle school girls teams competed with a field of 243 runners taking part. Individual medalists for the ladies were Walden's Mackie Shosky's 8th and Scripps' Maddie Furig's 10th place. These future LOHS Dragons are showing that they could really make some noise when they reach the high school 1 year from now. The high school races saw a field covering divisions 1 through 5, JV and varsity races. The Division I race saw the Lake Orion girls finish 7th out of 20 teams with 240 points. Salem was first, Plymouth was second, Holt was third. LO's Sophie Novak continued her strong 2019 season, finishing 4th overall in the field of 124 runners. Senior Abby Locke was also a medalist, finishing 34th overall. Freshman Annika Russell made some solid strides this season, moving up the yellow depth chart, finishing 3rd for the Dragons in 63rd place. Alexa Mathis was 85th, Iris Meach was 86th, to close out the scoring for the Dragons. The Dragon men might be young, but these up-and-comers are showing team chemistry and team racing, which is starting to pay off on improved team results. The LHS men would take 11th overall with 299 points. Plymouth was first, Dexter was second, Pinckney was third. LO's Andrew Nolan put up a solid performance on this challenging course, taking 6th overall. Also scoring for the Dragons was Hongbing Tang, 53rd, Will Hoovner, 54th, Luke Pearden, 57th, and Clayton Kuiper, 63rd. After a long day of races, the Dragons were pleased with their performances, collecting their hardware and setting their sights on their next invitational at Linden on Saturday, September 21st. The conditions for this race were less than ideal. Race time temperatures were in the mid-80s, with humidity levels creeping higher and higher, making for very uncomfortable conditions. Cool water baths and wet towels were on hand to greet the racers as they finished. Just finishing in one piece was an accomplishment in and of itself on this day. The Lady Dragons were off against the 14-team field, looking to earn their 3rd straight Linden Classic victory. Novak cruised to an easy win, finishing almost 45 seconds ahead of the second-place finisher, Elliott Smith from Traverse City West. Flushing, Traverse City West, and Rochester Adams would put forth strong team runs to shore up the top 3 overall team positions. The Lady Dragons would take 5th behind Linden. The Dragons would have 3 on the podium, though. Novak was first, Annika Russell was 27th, and Abby Locke was 22nd. Seniors Marissa O'Leary and Sophia Bohannon would also put in solid runs, taking 39th and 40th overall to close out the scoring for LO. Coach McDonald made sure her varsity and JV runners knew that this race was not about time, but about place, as the weather conditions were, in short, brutal. The Dragon men again were led by Andrew Nolan, who, like Novak, would dominate the field, taking 1st overall, defeating Linden's Tyler Buchanan by 14 seconds. Team running and just plain old Dragon guts would push the men's team to an overall 2nd-place team finish with 76 points. Adams would finish 1st, Linden was 3rd. The Dragons would take a truckload of medals home for their efforts. Hongbing Tang was 11th, Andrew Jakes 15th, Luke Pearden 24th, Clayton Kuiper 25th, Nick Laurent 26th, and Adam Hafley was 27th. All medal winners for Lake Orion. Coach Ford was pleased with his team's performance and has to be excited about this young team's future. The Dragon faithful are happy to call it a day on this scorched course and set their sights on the OAA Jamboree number 2 held at Lake Orion High School on Tuesday, September 24th. Home field advantage is nice to have, as the yellow course is one of the most challenging in the OAA red. The Lady Dragons at this stage of the season were working for times that will set them up for success at the county meet and regional meet at the end of October. Sophie Novak again flexed her muscles, showing the OAA red that she has her sights on a league championship. She was tested early by Clarkston senior Mia Patria, who was also an all-state finisher in 2018. Novak and Patria battled neck and neck for the first mile. Novak would pull away for good about mile 2. As these two battled for the lead, the team from Troy would use their group running and place 3 runners in the top 10 to take the team win with 54 points. Clarkston was a close second with 60. Adams was third. Lake Orion was 5th. LO's Abby Locke would have a strong race, finishing 12th overall. Freshman Annika Russell again made another jump in her development, finishing a solid 18th overall. Iris Meach was 34th, and Marissa O'Leary was 44th to close out the scoring for the Dragons. The men would hit the course under perfect racing conditions. Fast times were expected even on this hilly course. LO's Andrew Nolan was all alone at the 1 mile mark and would extend his lead second by second. Rochester Adams, Gage Kilwald, and Oxford Scott Masterson would try to challenge Nolan, but the Dragons senior all-stater was looking to close out his final home meet on top of the podium. Nolan would roll to the win, 32 seconds ahead of Kilwald from Adams, in 16 minutes, 10.2 seconds. The Dragon underclassmen again would show their continued improvement and put solid times, finishing second as a team with 48 points. Adams was first with 32. Clarkson was third with 72. LO's Jacob Gleason's 9th, Hong Bing Tang's 10th, Clayton Kuiper's 13th, and Adam Hafley's 15th place would pace the Dragons scoring. All in all, a solid day of racing for the men's and women's teams. Congrats to the Dragons seniors on their final home race of their careers. We continue to cheer these competitors on as they set their sights on the county, league, and regional championships in the coming weeks. Stay tuned to the Sports Update for more cross-country results as the season rolls along. For the Sports Update, I'm Ian Locke.
Thanks, Ian. The Dragons varsity football team looked to continue their strong start to the season as they would face off against rival Oxford for an always exciting road game as the teams battled for the Double O Trophy, and then again a game against number 3 state-ranked team West Bloomfield in what could be one of the most exciting football games of the season. Here's Joe Johnson with the breakdown.
On Friday, September 20th, the 3-0 Lake Orion Dragons traveled to Oxford to take on the 1-2 Wildcats in the battle for the Double O Trophy. The Wildcats claimed the trophy in 2018. Could the Dragons take it home? Oxford kicked off to Lake Orion to start the game, and the Dragons began the opening drive on their own 26. On a 1st and 10 from their own 25, Blaze Lowers in shotgun. He hands off to Kobe Manzo, who goes right up the middle and scampers 45 yards before he's taken down on the 10-yard line. A few plays later, on 3rd and goal, Manzo pounds it into the end zone to take an early lead. The Ross PAT was good. Lake Orion 7, Oxford 0, with 9.5 left in the first. Let's go to the second quarter. Lake Orion moves the ball to the Oxford 26 when Lauer hands off to number 5, Marlon Robinson, who breaks multiple tackles and finds the end zone. The point after was good, and the Dragons are on top 14-0 with 11:51 left in the half. Following an Oxford punt, the Dragons are on their own 22 with just over 2 minutes left in the half. Lowers in shotgun. He takes the snap, fakes the handoff, finds a hole, and follows his blockers upfield to go the distance, 78 yards into the end zone. He's been doing this all season. The half ends with Lake Orion on top, 21-0. Now here's a crazy play. The Wildcats have the ball with 8.5 left in the third, facing a 3rd and 5. Quarterback Brady Carpenter is under center. He takes the snap, hands off to number 9, Matthew Pullman, who finds a hole and races toward the end zone. Ashton Kroll makes contact, and Pullman loses the ball before crossing the goal line. Number 8, Caden Beck, clearly recovers the ball in the end zone, but the referee signals touchdown. What? The refs come together for a conference, and the call is reversed. Touchback. The Dragons are awarded the ball at the 20, and the Oxford coaching staff lose their minds. 2 unsportsmanlike penalties are called, and the Dragons begin the drive at midfield. Unbelievable. Later, with the third quarter winding down, Lake Orion has a 3rd and 10 on Oxford's 22-yard line. Blaze Lauer takes the snap, starts left, stops and turns, and lobs the ball over the line into the waiting hands of Sam Sterich, who has nothing but blue turf in front of him and goes into the end zone for the score. The PAT was good. Lake Orion 28, Oxford nothing. Let's go to the fourth quarter. Following an Oxford punt and an unsportsmanlike penalty, the Dragons begin their drive on their own 25. Lauer's in shotgun. He takes the snap and finds an open Andrew Van Heck, who goes 75 yards into the end zone to make the score a lopsided 35-0. A running clock comes into play, and the game ends with Lake Orion reclaiming the 00 trophy in a convincing win and improve the record to 4-0. We caught up with Coach John Blackstock and a few of his star players after the game.
We knew it was going to be a tough battle, and we knew that they're a little bit young this year, but they always play hard. Coach Raleigh does a great job with them, and it was a little bit surprising the way that it got out of hand there at the end. But, my hat's off to them because they played hard the whole way through.
The 00 trophy, talk about what it means to bring that back to Lake Orion.
Yeah, it's important. I mean, it's an important deal for both communities, both schools, both programs, and it's something we both deeply want. And it doesn't feel good when it sits over here, north of us for those 365 days. So it's great bringing it back, and these guys really wanted to bring it back.
I think we all play for each other, no more individuals. We know what we have to do. We take it 1 week at a time, we don't get too ahead of ourselves. So, yeah.
This rivalry with Oxford, I'm sure it's something that fires the team up. It's a long tradition. Talk about coming into this game being fired up.
Right. So we won the trophy 2 years ago, and, obviously they won last year. So we just had that in the back of our mind, get a little revenge. And I think we came out with that extra energy and ended up in our favor.
We knew we were coming on their field, and we had to take care of business. And our defense has been, preaching, stopping that dive all week, and they did what they had to do, and they did what they said they were going to do. It's a rivalry game. Everybody came out to play. We were all excited. We've been excited all week. We had a great week of practice, and we're just excited to keep this thing rolling.
We came out with fire from the first play, and when we come out with that fire, we know nothing's stopping us. And our fire led to those big plays. We had a couple of them, and once we started scoring, we didn't stop from there. We just kept fighting.
4-0 to start the season. What's going through your head?
It feels good. It doesn't really matter too much to us, though. We're on the next week. We got a big game next week, and we got to focus on that.
On Friday, September 27th, the 4-0 Dragons hosted the 3-1 West Bloomfield Lakers at Dragon Stadium in a battle for first place in the OAA Red. On the Dragons' first drive of the game, they moved the ball down the field. On second down, on their own 32, Blaze Lauer is under center. He takes the snap and pitches it to Mitch Howell, who stops, throws, and hits Sam Sterich, who stumbles and falls on the Laker 37-yard line for a big first down. On 3rd and 8, Lauer is in shotgun. He evades pressure and hits number 20, Mitch DeBrinket, for another first down on the Lakers' 20. On 2nd and 10, Lauer's in shotgun. He takes the snap, fakes the handoff, and hits Mitch Howell in the end zone. The Ross PAT was good, and the Dragons are on top early, 7-0. On the Lakers' first drive, West Bloomfield has a 1st and 10 on their own 39 when quarterback C.J. Harris hands off to number 6, Donovan Edwards, who streaks down the sideline, outrunning defenders all the way into the end zone for a 61-yard score. The PAT was good, and the Lakers tie things up at 7 with 8:12 left in the first. Later in the first, following a West Bloomfield punt, the ball is downed on the Lake Orion 18. On 1st and 10, Lauer's in shotgun. He hands the ball off to Kobe Manzo, who sees nothing but open field ahead of him. 82 yards and no flags. The point after was good. Lake Orion 14, West Bloomfield 7. A Ross field goal in the second quarter made the score 17-7 at the half. Let's go to the third. The Lakers have a 1st and 10 on their own 31 when Harris mishandles the snap. He picks it up, bursts through a gap, and takes off. He's taken down on the 25 by Sinai Palo. On the next play, number 46, Anthony May takes the ball down to the 5-yard line. 2 plays later, with West Bloomfield threatening to score, officials see lightning off in the distance. The players leave the field and fans are encouraged to take shelter. After a delay, it's announced that the game is postponed until 7 p.m. the next day. The weather was much better on Saturday night as the action picked up right where we left off, with the ball spotted on the Dragons' 5-yard line. On 3rd down, Harris struggles with a low snap and he is tackled for a loss. On 4th down, the Lakers settle for a field goal, which makes the score 17-10 with Lake Orion on top. On the ensuing drive, Lake Orion is moving the ball. On 3rd and 19 on the Dragons' 44, Lowers in shotgun. He finds an open Drew Van Heck, who is tackled inside the Lakers' 20 for a Lake Orion 1st down. A few plays later, facing a 4th and goal on the 1, Lowers under center. He takes the snap and plunges into the end zone to give Lake Orion a 2-touchdown lead in the 3rd. Let's go to the 4th quarter with the Dragons driving. It's 2nd down on the Lakers' 29. Lowers in shotgun. He fakes the handoff, keeps it. He loses the handle. Number 39, Mike Williams, somehow comes up with it and takes off. No whistle. He goes 71 yards into the end zone to cut the lead to 7. Lake Orion 24, West Bloomfield 17, with just over 9 minutes left to go in the game. On the next drive, Lake Orion has the ball on the Lakers' 4-yard line. On 3rd and goal, Lauer pitches the ball to Drew Van Heck, who turns the corner and crosses the goal line. Touchdown, Lake Orion. The Ross PAT was good, and the Dragons reclaim a 2-touchdown lead, 31-17, with just 3:39 left in the game. On the next drive, the Lakers move the ball all the way to the Dragons' 1-yard line. Running back Donovan Edwards takes the snap and finds the end zone to close the gap to 7 points, 31-24, with 1:47 left on the clock. Lake Orion's next drive resulted in a turnover on downs. West Bloomfield takes possession on their own 38-yard line, down by 7 with just 1:19 left in the game. On 1st down, Harris is sacked for a loss. On 2nd and long, Harris is in shotgun. He completes it to number 3, Ethan Bunch at the 50, just short of a 1st down. 45 seconds left. On 3rd down, Harris finds Bunch again for a 1st down on the Lake Orion 44-yard line. 30 seconds left. On 2nd down, Harris hits Donovan Edwards at the 22. He goes out of bounds to stop the clock. On 1st down, Harris finds Ethan Bunch, who goes in for the score with just 12.2 seconds left on the clock. The PAT was good and the score is tied at 31. We're headed for overtime. Unbelievable. Lake Orion gets the ball in overtime. The ball is placed on the 10-yard line, and the Dragons have 4 downs to score. On 3rd down, Blaze Lauer dodges pressure and finds Mitch Howell in the back of the end zone for the score. The PAT was good, and the Dragons are back on top, 38-31. Now it's the Lakers' turn. The ball is placed at the 10. The Lakers are stopped 3 times. But on 4th and 8, Harris fields a low snap and hits Ethan Bunch in the end zone. The PAT was good and things are tied 38-38. We head into a 2nd overtime. West Bloomfield gets the ball first this time. On 3rd and 5, Harris finds Bunch again to regain the lead. The PAT was good and the score is 45-38. Lake Orion gets a chance to tie things up. On 2nd and 9, Lauer hits Drew Van Heck in the end zone. The PAT evens the score at 45-45. Bring on the 3rd overtime. Lake Orion has the ball at the 10. On 1st down, Lauer fakes the handoff and goes up the middle. He finds the end zone, and Lake Orion is back on top, 52-45. West Bloomfield gets the ball at the 10. On 1st down, Harris hits a wide-open Anthony May in the end zone to tie things up. In all my years of covering high school football, I've never seen anything like this, folks. We're now in the 4th overtime. West Bloomfield has the ball. Harris is in shotgun. On 2nd down and 16, Harris finds Donovan Edwards to take the lead, 59-52. This is nuts. Lake Orion has the ball, hoping to tie it up again. They're unsuccessful for 3 downs. Facing a 4th and goal at the 1, Lauer takes the snap and pitches it to Drew Van Heck, who is stopped at the 6. Game over. West Bloomfield gets the win. in one of the wildest, craziest games I've ever seen. It's a heartbreaking loss for the Dragons, and even though both teams are 4-1, the Lakers take first place in the OAA Red due to a 3-0 division record. Next up, the Dragons travel to Bloomfield Hills on October 4th to take on the winless Blackhawks. From Dragon Stadium, this is Joe Johnson reporting for ON TV Sports.
Thanks, Joe. Following the crushing defeat last week against the West Bloomfield Lakers, the Dragons traveled to Bloomfield Hills on October 4th. In this game, the Dragons came out firing on all cylinders, as with the first snap of the ball, Mitch Howell ran for a 67-yard touchdown with a jet sweep. The Dragons capped off the impressive first quarter with a touchdown run from Kobe Manzo, giving them the 21-0 lead. Then, in the second quarter, the Dragons would break off another big play as quarterback Blaze Lauer would score a 60-yard touchdown run, pushing the Dragons' lead to 28. The Dragons didn't let up in the second half either, as they would end up winning the game 42-6 in a bounce back from the prior week. Up next for the Dragons is their homecoming game against Rochester, where Lake Orion looks to clinch a playoff berth. Then they travel to Clarkston, who is fighting to stay in the playoff race, and then they end their regular season at home against Monroe. And that's it for this episode of Lake Orion Sports Update. For even more Lake Orion sports, check out our YouTube channel for our full game coverage of football, soccer, volleyball, and more. Visit youtube.com and search for Orion Neighborhood Television. We'll see you next time.